guys, so today I'm going to do a video on wedding planning, Nigerian wedding planning 101. A lot of you guys requested this for this year to do because I had my wedding this year in April. Chris and I got married in Ohio and it was the most magical, beautiful wedding ever. And I still get questions about who was this, who did this, who did the decor, all stuff like that. So I'll let you guys know in this little mini series for wedding planning 101. My hair is from Wondess Hair. I'll link it down below. I actually colored it myself. I want to do some color for fall, so I said let me just like do a little, I don't even know, it's like a brownie, bronzy, reddish kind of color. But yeah, it's beautiful curly hair, so I'll link it down below. I actually did 4 bundles this time. I did a closure because I said like, I haven't done closures in a while, so let me try a closure. But yeah, this hair is actually pretty beautiful. And you know what? I colored this hair and then when I washed it, it was still wet and it's cold outside. So I was trying to dry it outside, but it's cold now. So I threw it in the dryer and literally this thing dried in like 5 minutes. And the curls, like, I don't know. I never tried drying my hair in the dryer before, but I threw it in the dryer and then the curls just came out like this. Like, because I brushed it with my powder brush and it was sopping wet, and then when I took out the dryer it literally just looked like this. I did not do anything. The curls are just like popping. I don't know, I might have to do that more often. But it was literally like a spur of the moment, like desperate situation, because I was like, I need to record this video, my hair is still wet, I gotta go out after this video. So anyways, info on this hair will be down below and we'll get into the wedding planning 101. After my wedding that was back in April of this year, a lot of you guys are wanting me to do a video on like how I planned it, how I found my vendors, planning Nigerian weddings, etc, and stuff like that. So from then until now, I've been trying to think about like how I wanted to break it down, what I wanted to talk about, what I want to get in detail about, some tips I have, some things I learned along the way. I think what I want to do is just break it down into 3 different parts. I'll do like guest count, budget, and venue, and I'll do wedding party, and then I'll do vendors, decor, and like tips for the last part. So today I just want to go over like budget, venue, and guest count. Oh, my wedding was this year in April, so it came off just right after Inky's, so I had a good idea about like Chris and I had a good idea about, you know, like how to plan things and stuff like that, because we just came off Inky's wedding. So first, pick a date. So we picked a date based on just like what's going on in our lives, the best time, weather, giving yourself enough time to like save up money and stuff like that, because weddings do cost a lot, especially African weddings, Nigerian weddings. They cost a lot because everyone, their grandma has what they want to do for your wedding, and everyone, their grandma needs to come to your wedding. So we can get into that later. So weather is a good thing to keep in mind for pictures and activities outside. You know, whatever's going on with your wedding, if you're doing an outdoor wedding, what you want the scenery to look like, put pictures. So Chris and I, we had April as our date of this year. So for me, there was a lot of other things that kind of tied into like why we kept it at April. One, Cardinal Arinze was officiating our wedding, so it was a lot based on his schedule and when he would be in the US, coming from Nigeria. So he was going to be here I think like all the weekends in April, so we just picked one that worked best next based on the availability of our venue. So we had a month, and then it's like, okay, so what venue do we want? So next the date was picked on based on like what weekend was available for the venue. So going into venue, it's kind of like, what's your guest count? Where do you want your wedding? If you want like a really big wedding that's like 500 people, not many halls will carry like 500 people. If you want like a small wedding that's like 200 and stuff like that, you'll find a lot more options for venues that will carry 200 people. Well, for us, we were like, let's keep it between like 350, 500, kind of based on that, and then also what we find. So going back to Inky's wedding, Inky's venue carried 500 people. However, it was out of town. So Chris and I didn't want to do our wedding out of town, so we decided let's just keep it in town. We had 3 options. All the options that we had were like around 350, 400 for guest count. So that's the number that we used. So we knew that our max was like 400 people. No more. Going back to your budget, you got to think about how many people are able to feed with your budget. How many people are you going to have to plate with your budget? With the venues, they base a lot of their costs on per person, because there's a plate fee. Like each person has a plate, fork, knife, cup, setting. So it's kind of like based on how much you want to spend per person per setting. So if you have a certain budget, your hall may fit 400 people, but your budget might not have enough for 400 people. So you kind of have to, you know, find a good balance between the venue, the budget, how many people you want to invite and stuff like that. So their capacity, the plate per person, the dance floor, as I said, if you have a really big hall, so the hall will carry 500 people, but that makes the dance floor small. So if you want to take back like 100 people or 50 people, that'll make your dance floor bigger, but then you have less people. But less people might be better for your budget. So it's kind of like give and take, you know. So going back to budget, when Chris and I did our wedding, we used this website called costofwedding.com, because we kind of were like all over the place. Like we kind of had like an open mind of a budget. So we're like, we need something to like give us a limit, you know what I mean? So we use costofwedding.com, and costofwedding.com kind of uses your zip code based on like where you are in the US, based on cost of living and, you know, how things are. And then the type of wedding you want. Do you want like a rustic wedding, a glam wedding, a big wedding, a small wedding, you know, kind of like your theme and your taste. And then they also ask like how many people do you want to invite. So with the budget, if you do want a big wedding, and a big wedding, you know, will cost so much, you might have to give yourself a little bit more time to save up, you know, for the wedding. So say your budget is really big, so give yourself more time so you can save up and stuff like that. Save up and then also be paying for things along the way. So that also can go in with your date and stuff like that. Kind of get an idea of family contributions. You know, with our wedding, we had family members that helped, you know, wanted to like give us as our wedding gift, or wanted to help us out with like, oh, we'll pay for this, and we'll pay for the limo, and we'll pay for this, we'll pay for that. So put that into account and stuff like that with your budget. So it's always good to have family members that will pitch in and stuff like that with your wedding. You're picking your venue, especially with African weddings, Nigerian weddings. A lot of our roadblocks we get is food. A lot of these public venue companies don't let you bring in outside food. One thing with our wedding, we were able, like the venue we chose was, and also a big factor was the food. They said if you spend at least, I forget how many thousands, then you can bring your own food, like our own caterers. And then also it's like, okay, if they let you bring your own food, they also say there has to be a licensed person, a licensed catering company. And with that, my mom actually has her own like catering license. She actually did that so that she can act like, it was kind of like you need a license. So it's like if your mom, your auntie and stuff can go get a license with the state or with your local place, you can use that to then be able to cater your food for your venue. So anyone can get a catering license and stuff like that. So don't forget about that if you're planning your wedding. So food, and in a lot of places don't let you bring food. With Inky's wedding, they didn't let us bring in food, so we had to actually teach the chef how to make not so complicated Nigerian dishes. So he made like jollof rice, moi moi, and I forget something else that he made. And we taught him, like my mom taught him over the months of planning the wedding, you know, teaching him steps and tricks and stuff like that, you know, to make his Nigerian dish that he made really good. He had a lot of trials. We tasted a lot of stuff like that along the way. So big thing is food. So if you have a venue that's able to bring in food, that's great, because it cuts down on the cost of a lot. Because if you have a venue that doesn't let you bring in food, you have to use their food. They base their food based on number of guests. You have 500 guests, and their fee might be, well, it will be $20 per person, and that will include like their plates, their utensils, the salad, the bread, the butter, all that stuff like that, the food and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, so $20 times 500 people, that's just for someone to sit down and eat, not even including anything else of the wedding. So that's one of the things you got to think about with your budget and like where you want to have it and stuff like that, and your guest count. So with food, we were able to bring in Nigerian food. So we actually had a catering company that was in Ohio that traveled from Columbus to our venue to cook food for the whole weekend. So the person cooked for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if you're able to find a caterer, also you can also find a caterer that's out of your state. We almost went with a caterer that was from Illinois, Chicago. So there's a lot of caterers in Texas, a lot of caterers in DC, a lot of caterers in Georgia. I'm talking about like African Nigerian food caterers and stuff. There's a lot in Ohio, so, and a lot in New York. So it's like, be open, and don't forget that you can use a lot of outside vendors for a lot of your stuff. You just gotta make sure you think about paying for their flight and accommodations, but that will be the next part of the video in my series when I talk about vendors and stuff like that. All right, so we talk about food, and then also with the venue, drinks. Do you want to have open bar? A lot of places do open bar per hour. It's like maybe like however many $100 an hour, or they do it per person. $10 per person for an open bar for the whole night, or $20 or $25 depending on what alcohol that you have. What we did was we had an open bar for a couple hours before the wedding reception, and then we closed it, and then we opened it back up when dinner started for like a couple hours, and then it was gone. So what we did was they gave us an option of buying a drink package that would be like maybe like $20 per person. So mind you, it's $20 per person just for drinks. You know, think about your budget. What we did for our bar was we had open bar, and we paid for the service of the people serving the drinks, and then we actually bought the drinks. So we just used their menu. We just bought like, okay, maybe like 10 cases of this, 5 cases of these, 4 bottles of these, so that we knew how much we spent, and then that was it. Because what they do is they say, okay, well, we'll do open bar, so at the end of the night you pay for what everybody drank, so it's limitless, you know what I mean? And they could even charge you more than you think, because you can't count everyone's drink at the wedding reception and be like, okay, what are you drinking, how many did you have, you know? So they could literally charge you anything. So what we did was, to keep our costs on our minds and we know how much we're spending, we said we'll buy drinks. So actually what happened was we bought drinks, and then I think even before the wedding reception started, what we bought was all gone. So we had to just buy a whole nother round of drinks. But it was better that way because we knew how much we were spending and stuff like that. So I would suggest to buy drinks. The way America is in alcohol and drinks, they will scam you like you've never been scammed before with alcohol and drinks. So for budget, when you're thinking about budget, and I said thinking about budget and guest count, factor in, as I said, food per person, drinks per person, invites per person. So if you're inviting 500 people, just imagine spending 500 times however much your invitations cost, plus save the dates. So that also goes into budget. Favors, the more people you have, the more favors you buy for people if you're doing favors. So think about that. We actually use the app called Lady Mary. And it's a really good like wedding planner app that Chris and I had between ourselves. So you can invite anybody to your account to be on it, and everyone can edit and put things on there. You can actually put your whole budget and then break it down by vendors, like photographer, $500, and then you can put, when you paid it off, you can put paid. And actually the app gives you like a good timeline of things. Like it tells you, okay, make sure you already booked your photographer by this date, because you give it your date and then it puts it out by from today until your wedding date, and it gives you a good checklist of stuff. So it's a really good app, because we didn't really have a wedding planner during our wedding process. We had a coordinator, but I'll get into that when I talk about vendors and stuff in another video. But we didn't have a wedding planner. My mom was our planner, Chris and I planned. So the app between Chris and I was really good because I can be at work and okay, I paid the photographer, so he'll see that, oh, if he paid the photographer at this date, and then Chris say he booked the video person, so I can see, okay, Chris booked the video person and paid deposit already, you know. So it's a really good app that I love. So it's called Lady Mary. Chris is the one that found it for us, so it was really good. You can post pictures on there. It's like it does so much, so it's a really good app. And you can even go to their marketplace, and it helps you find vendors and stuff like that. So I would seriously consider using this app instead of having like a book or a binder, because at first I had a book and a binder for planning, and I realized that the app is the same thing, and I can just have it here when I go to meetings and stuff like that. Just pull up my phone on my app and just write down information. So it's really good. I think those are the two apps that we used first for when we started planning, this Lady Mary, and then the costofwedding.com to get a budget and stuff like that. I think that's all I want to talk about with budget, venue, and guest count. With your guest count, one thing, with Inky's wedding, I think Inky had a guest count of like 500, so they split the guest count down the middle between our family and Lawrence's family, so 250. So for us, our guest count was 400, so we split it between Chris's family, they got 200, and my family, we got 200. And that's how we did the guest count, but do it any which way. But yeah. And then what else did I wanted to say? I think that was it just for that part. After this video, comment down below what you want me to talk about more for the next other parts of the series. If you have some questions about this part with the budget, venue, and all that stuff like that, leave it down below and I can get back to you. And then I'll put the links down below for the apps that I mentioned in the website and stuff like that. And I think that's it. Yeah, if you have questions, just leave it down below, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.